Yo, what's going on, guys? He's just here with a special episode of, well, an incomplete NHL offseason. So, this offseason has been a little underwhelming, per se. But, I did my due diligence, and I picked out my top 57, not 60, not 50, or 55, top 57 moves of the offseason so far. So, we're going to jump into this. I'm going to talk about it. Now, listen, these moves do not consist of draft picks. So, like, for example, the Devils drafted Nico Hischier. We're not going to be talking, that's not an acquisition. I'm talking about trades and signings strictly. That is it. We're talking about the best trades and the best signings. They are not in order. So, I mean, number 1 is not the best move. Number 57 is not the worst move. This is just moves I threw together on a list. There are no particular order. I'm just going to go over all these moves and why I think they're my top 57 moves. Honestly, I think all of these moves are in everybody's top 57. It would just make the most sense. I tried to squeeze in every single team, but not every single team made a top 57 acquisition. So, let's jump into this. I'm going to talk about every move. Okay, computer, you want to not be making noise right now? So, you guys just put your comments down below whether you agree or disagree or if I left anything out, okay? A lot of research and time went into this one. I was up very, very late last night putting it all together, so I might have missed a couple of things. So let me know if I did. Let's jump right into this. The first move that we are going to be talking about is the Carolina Hurricanes acquiring Scott Darling. So, this is the reason why I think it's a good move. The Carolina Hurricanes acquired Scott Darling, who could be their starting goalie this season if Cam Ward is completely falls off the edge. Carolina Hurricanes obviously want to move forward. They want a young goaltender, although Darling is 28. That's about the prime age for a goalie. He had 18 wins last year as a backup goalie and a save percentage of .924 or 92.4%, which is good enough to be a starting goaltender in the NHL. The Metropolitan Division is tough. We'll see how Darling holds up against the Metropolitan Division. I think he'll be fine, especially with the upgrades the Hurricanes made this offseason. You're going to see them pop up a few times on this list. Next, moving on, we're going to move on to the Florida Panthers signing Radim Vrbata to a 1-year, $3.7 million contract. Although Vrbata is 35 years old, he's coming off a 20-goal, 55-point campaign with the Coyotes, who were one of the poorest performing teams of last season. The Panthers were hard to watch last season in comparison to the season prior when they made the playoffs. However, their depth scoring was a problem. Adding Radim Vrbata upgrades that depth scoring, or you can insert a guy like this into the top 6 and watch him score 20 to 25 goals. I think this is a great move for them because it's a relatively cheap contract at 3.75, especially nowadays trying to get a 55-point, 20-goal guy, a veteran of this age. I think it's a good contract. It's a great move. He's consistent. You can put him in any top 9 forward wing position, and he's going to get you 20 goals. It's a great move. You throw him on a line with Trocheck or whatever, fine. Also, he's going to replace what Jágr was giving them. But he's a faster skater, which is an upgrade. The Dallas Stars are the next team we're going to talk about. The Dallas Stars are going to appear a lot on this list as well. The Stars got an elite goaltender, arguably, for a 4th-round pick. That elite goaltender is named Ben Bishop. They acquired a number 1 goalie with prestige. And by prestige, I mean Ben Bishop has appeared in a cup final before. He has posted 3 35-plus win seasons, as well as a 40-win season. Think about that for a second. The Dallas Stars, they had Kari Lehtonen in his prime, who wasn't awful. I mean, he's certainly not worth $6 million a year, which is being paid, but we'll save that for another time. But he's a number 1 goalie. On any team you put him on that needs a starting goaltender, he's a number 1. He's not a guy that's fighting for a backup job ever or fighting for a starting job ever. No. Ben Bishop, you acquire to be a starting goaltender unless you're the LA Kings and you're just confused. Ben Bishop can really put the Stars over the edge, and that's not even considering the other offseason acquisitions that the Dallas Stars have made. Even without their other acquisitions, Ben Bishop makes them a playoff contender. But we're going to see later what their other acquisitions were that are going to make them a serious cup contender potentially this year. The next move we're going to talk about is the Montreal Canadiens acquiring Jonathan Drouin. Finally, the Montreal Canadiens acquire a young, highly talented scorer who could be the setup man or a goal scorer if need be. Drouin is going to make Montreal a much higher scoring team. That's a given. And could you imagine you put him on a line with Alex Galchenyuk? You can forget about Galchenyuk being sat ever again. Galchenyuk's going to go into next season, and if he's on a line with Drouin, I could bet you that Drouin and Galchenyuk could both easily put up 65-plus points, if not 80, on a really good season. Now, it also depends who their other lineman is. If I'm the coach right now of the Montreal Canadiens, I am licking my lips from who am I going to put Galchenyuk and Drouin with. Honestly, I'm putting Brendan Gallagher with them because Gallagher is one of the really good two-way forwards in the NHL, but he does the dirty work. You could have Galchenyuk, he could, have Gallagher fish the puck out of the corner, feed it to Galchenyuk, Galchenyuk throws it across the Drouin. I guarantee you put Gallagher on the line with them, you'll be seeing a lot of those goals this year, especially with Gallagher's forecheck. He's so good at it. He's so small. He gets leverage under the defenders. Him picking the puck out of the corner and setting guys up, it's going to be a heck of a year for that line if it is put together. Plus, they're all very young. So that's a bonus right there, too. The next move we're going to talk about, number 5, actually goes right into the same trade. When Tampa Bay acquired Mikhail Sergachev. I'm going to try to slow this down, but I am talking a little bit fast. The Lightning already have a solid defense they've had for a few years now with the likes of Coburn and Garrett. As bad as Garrison was at points, Garrison's not bad. Strawman, Hedman, Dotchin, Suster, and whatnot. Mikhail Sergachev, the difference between him and all the other guys I just named, aside from Hedman and arguably Strawman, and a little bit of Dotchin, Sergachev is very, very young. So they're going to have Sergachev for a very, very long time. He hasn't hit his prime yet, and he's already highly touted as the most NHL-ready CHL defender. This guy, when he was drafted 9th overall by the Montreal Canadiens, I don't understand. I mean, it was a deep draft the year he was drafted, but I thought he'd be picked a lot higher. I think the kid's a beast. I just think it was hard for him to make the Montreal Canadiens roster with the amount of defensemen they had the past 2 years. But Mikhail Sergachev, let's just say he splits the season next year between the AHL and the NHL. 2 years from now, he's a consistent top 4 NHL defenseman. After that, I wouldn't be surprised to see Sergachev and Hedman as a pairing. The top pair in Tampa Bay, power play, penalty kill, 5-on-5, whatever it is. Sergachev's going to be a beast. This is a great trade for great trade for Tampa Bay. They got a future defenseman who could be top 2. No doubt in my mind. No doubt. Great pickup by Tampa Bay. At the expense of Jonathan Drouin, but it is what it is. The next move we're going to go into involves the Canadiens, but it's not the Canadiens that are getting the benefit of the doubt. It is the Buffalo Sabres acquiring Nathan Beaulieu. Nathan Beaulieu had a breakout year at the age of 23/24. He had 28 points last year, and I'm pretty sure he was a top 6 defenseman who did not get a whole lot of playing time. Buffalo is a potential high-scoring left-handed defenseman who's only aged 24 for a 3rd-round pick. This guy was thought to be a centerpiece of a few trades Montreal was thinking about making last year or years prior. He could find himself in the top 4 this year, especially with the departure of Dmitry Kulikov in Buffalo. I wouldn't be surprised if Beaulieu has a breakout year and scores over 30 points. In terms of goals, I don't think he's going to have a lot of goals. I can see him setting guys up on the power play. I think it's a great move for Buffalo to acquire Nathan Beaulieu, especially on that cheap 3rd-round pick. Man, what a steal. The next move we're going to move into is, I didn't mean to say it like that, move into, is Toronto signing Dominic Moore, one of my favorite players in the NHL. A 1-year, $1 million deal. If that's not a steal, then I don't know what is. Dominic Moore, like I said, one of my favorite players, can play in any situation. He's a great leader and is highly talented in the face-off circle. Highly. He's solid and underrated pickup by Toronto. Now, Dominic Moore is low risk, high reward. 1 year, $1 million. He's tradable. You can bury him in the minors. You can waive him, do whatever you want if he doesn't pan out. Or he's going to be your 4th-line center. You put him on a line with Matt Martin or whoever's playing on the 4th line, and he's going to flourish. Dominic Moore has the thing. When you put him on a line with young guys, he does just amazing. He always has. When the Rangers had him on a line with Lindbergh and Foss, that 4th line was dynamic, and I loved watching that line. Dominic Moore, watch out for him next year. He's going to have a very good season. Point production-wise, I don't see him getting any more than 20-25, but I think efficiency, he's going to be one of the most efficient players on Toronto. Number 8, we're going to talk about the Anaheim Ducks signing Ryan Miller. 2 years, $2 million per year. Low risk, high reward. This is why it's low risk, even though it is $2 million per year. He's only a few years separated from being one of the top goalies in the NHL. This is prior to him being in St. Louis and Vancouver. But like I said, a few years. When he was on Buffalo, Ryan Miller, on the top of his game, was the best, if not one of the best goalies in the NHL. You couldn't even doubt it. You know, the guy was on Team USA every time every time the Olympics came around. He just an absolute beast. He was buried in Vancouver, so you can't really judge his last 3 years, and he did relatively well in those 3 years. Miller's on a much better team now with a much better defensive core. He can flourish and easily take over as a starter. God forbid John Gibson ever gets hurt or something happens. Ryan Miller can take over as a starter for a little bit or the season if need be. He's a solid goalie still. Number 9, we're going to talk about the Buffalo Sabres again. We're going to talk about them signing Benoit Pouliot to a 1-year, $1.15 million contract. Here again, we're going to talk about the low-risk, high-reward for Buffalo, as Pouliot has capabilities of being a 40-plus 40-plus point scorer when matched with the correct winger or players. He found his scoring touch with the Rangers. Everybody remembers there's a Zuccarello, Brassard, Pouliot line in the playoffs. Basically carried the Rangers to the Cup final. He adds depth scoring and veteran experience to a locker room of young Buffalo Sabres. I think Pouliot's a great signing. You could put him on the 4th line, have him play defensive, efficient minutes. Or you can put him on the 3rd line or the 2nd line if you're feeling ballsy, the 1st line, and have him score 40 points as a complimentary player. You just got to find him the right wingers and center. Moving on, the Dallas Stars, again, a huge splash, signing Martin Hanzal to a 3-year, $4.75 million contract. He's going to be their 3rd-line center. Here's the thing with Martin Hanzal. I think he's a little bit overpaid right now, but Hanzal can get you between 35 and 50 points a season. Do not let him fool you. He can score a little bit, especially on a team like Dallas, where he's going to have scoring all around him. He wins faceoffs, and he plays very strong defensive minutes. If you need him to be a 3rd-line checker, he'll be a 3rd-line checker. If you want him to be a 3rd-line scorer, he'll be a 3rd-line scorer. If I'm the Dallas Stars, I want him as a 3rd-line checker, especially because they added a lot of offense this offseason. They added some defense. You could see Martin Hanzal in the power play. Like, let's just make an analogy here. You put Jamie Benn on the left, Hanzal at center, Radulov or Spets on the right, Sagan and Klingberg at the point. Hanzel's going to win you the faceoff. He's great at faceoffs. And he just parks his 6'6" ass in front of the net and screens the goalie. Not many goalies, only Ben Bishop, can see over him, and Ben Bishop is on his side. So I think it's a phenomenal signing. I think he'd be great on the power play, great on the penalty kill, great on 5v5. Martin Hanzal, excellent pickup by the Dallas Stars. They can really develop him into a really strong player. Let's see here. Moving on to the Philadelphia Flyers, number 11. We're going to talk about the Philadelphia Flyers signing Brian Elliott. Elliott, without a doubt, everybody knows this, everybody's well aware, he had a very, very bad year with Calgary. Maybe it was Calgary, something in Calgary and him were not getting along. He had a god-awful year. He still earned a 2-year, $2.75 million contract, but let's talk about why this is a good contract. Not because he's going to be the Flyer starter, because Neuwirth can easily take that job from Elliott. But Elliott and Neuwirth are both on 2-year contracts. This gives the Flyers 2 more years of developing Stolarz and Carter Hart, while Elliott and Neuwirth hold the reins for the next 2 years and keep the Flyers competitive. The Flyers could have easily not signed Elliott and let Stolarz be a backup in the NHL. But why would they do that when Stolarz can be the minor league starter, Carter Hart can hang out in the CHL, or even move up to the minor leagues next year after this season, and then they could trade one of Elliott and Neuwirth because they're on cap-friendly contracts, bring up Stolarz as the backup, Carter Hart your AHL starter. This is a very, very smart move. Very smart. For those 2 reasons. 1, 2 years of development for those guys, and 2, wait a year, trade one of them, they're on cheap contracts, somebody will want a cheap backup, and you can bring up the other one. I think it's a great contract. Great move by the Flyers. A very underrated move. Now we're going to talk about Vancouver. We're going to talk about them for the next 2. Vancouver signs Michael Del Zotto to a 2-year, $3 million contract. Del Zotto has a very hard time competing in competitive markets with the Rangers and Philadelphia. Now, I'm not taking away from Vancouver. Vancouver's a very high-pressure market. The fans want to win more than almost any other fan base. But let's not kid ourselves. Vancouver has really not been good the past few years. And to no fault of their general manager, all right, I love their GM. Everybody hates their GM. It's not his fault that he makes these cruddy signings trying to compete every year when he could have been rebuilding for the past 5 years, and Vancouver could have already been competitive again from high draft picks. Vancouver ownership will not let him rebuild. That is why year after year he's making stupid trades, trying to improve the team and signing these free agents instead of tanking. Their ownership's not letting him do it. But alas, he's not doing an awful job. They signed Del Zotto. He's going to have less pressure because, honestly, people aren't expecting a lot from Vancouver next year. Not for nothing, Del Zotto was one of the most highly touted offensive defenseman prospects in the NHL when he was first drafted. He had a 40-point season with the Rangers on playing defense, but fell off the wagon once Tortorella stepped in and the pressure in New York and the partying got to him. And that's no joke. Del Zotto's got to mature. He's getting too old for this crap now. And you know what? He blew it. He's a bust. He's an NHL player, but he's a bust nonetheless, especially with the high ceiling that he had before he threw it all away to partying. Next, Vancouver signed Sam Gagner to a 3-year, $3.15 million contract. If Vancouver really is trying to make a push this year, they're making the right signings, especially with Sam Gagner. Gagner had a strong last season. He still has a lot more to prove. People kept thinking he was a bust. Oh, Patrick Kane was the only reason that he was so good in the CHL. I agree with that to an extent, where Patrick Kane was an excellent compliment, but he can compliment absolutely anybody. But it takes some amount of skill to put up the numbers that Sam Gagner did, and I still think that he can be an effective player in the NHL. So, I think he has a lot to prove, and I think Vancouver's a place to do it. Worst comes to worst, wait a year, 2 years, they can trade him. He's on a cheap contract. Next, we're going to talk about Winnipeg. Winnipeg shows up a couple times on this list. Firstly, we're going to talk about Winnipeg signing Steve Mason to a 2-year, $4.1 million contract. This is a safe contract. Winnipeg adds a solid goaltender who can make them a playoff contender next year. Faux shizzle. Mason won Rookie of the Year during Columbus's ugly ages. Let's not kid ourselves. They might have made the playoffs that year, the only year they made the playoffs during that era. But with a rookie goaltender, that was quite impressive that he was able to do that, carry the team. Mason has played 8 full NHL seasons. He has 20 win seasons in 6 of them. Carolina is next, because I'm just going to drop it off right there. I'm not talking about Mason anymore. Winnipeg got themselves a starting goaltender. He's on a 2-year deal. Nothing else to say besides that. Carolina signed Justin Williams to a 2-year, $4.5 million contract. I'm pretty sure it's the exact same contract he signed with Washington. Williams is a cup-winning veteran returning to Carolina. And Carolina is in much need of veterans. Let's not kid ourselves. They're a young team. They need the veteran leadership, especially guys who have won before. Carolina's got a 20-goal scorer who can get 45 points a season and is going to give them a case to compete for and in the playoffs next season. Moving on from Justin Williams, who I think is a very good signing, Colorado signs Jonathan Bernier to a 1-year, $2.75 million prove-it-to-me contract. Semyon Varlamov has had literally no competition in Colorado since he's been there. Probably part of the reason why he's trailed off so much. The closest his job's been in danger is when Calvin Pickard had a couple of good starts, and that's about it. Bernier puts Varlamov's job in danger because Bernier's been a starter before, and he's held down the fort on a few teams. He's not as good as he might have used to be, or maybe hasn't been performing as well, especially with, his ugly Toronto days. But still, he puts Varlamov's job on the stove. So, this is a good signing by Colorado because it does 2 things. 1, it either gives them a new number 1 goaltender, which is what they need, or it makes their current number 1 goaltender cut the crap, figure out his game, and play for real and stop giving up. Because honestly, I think Varlamov is one of the laziest players that I've seen in the past few years. He got his money and he fell to the face of the earth. He could not give a shit. Now his job's in danger and he's on the grill. That's it. It's a great move by Colorado signing Jonathan Bernier. Great move. The next move we're going to talk about is the Florida Panthers signing Evgeny Dadonov. This is number 17. A consistently top-scoring KHL player returning to the NHL with something to prove. Florida needed scoring, and they've done an awesome job of getting it. Dadonov adds speed and a dangerous scoring touch on a cheap contract. So, Florida could use depth scoring, and Dadonov could be your depth scorer or your best scorer, depending on how he performs. I got the privilege of watching him in the KHL a few years when I had the KHL channels on my old TV when I lived on Long Island. I don't know how I got the stations, but I had them. And I watched Dadonov, and this kid is impressive. He's only 28 years old. He's on a 3-year, $4 million contract. That is mad cheap for a guy who's point per game in the KHL. It's a great signing by Florida. Another fast scorer. The team is getting faster. They are improving. I would look out for Florida next year. Dadonov is going to be at the forefront of their offense. I would not be surprised to see him on a line with Huberdeau, but not on a line with Barkov. Barkov can make his own line. He's that good. Number 18, we're talking about the New Jersey Devils signing Brian Boyle to a 2-year, $2.75 million contract. The ex-Ranger Brian Boyle will be an awesome third or fourth line center with New Jersey. He gives him Stanley Cup experience and a face-off winning big center to chew up defensive minutes. New Jersey can compete within the next 2 years, and Boyle definitely helps them with that. Boyle is a competitive guy. He scored 20 goals with the Rangers one year. He might not do it again. He's a little bit older now, but he's going to win faceoffs, play strong defensive minutes, and I think he's a great pickup for the New Jersey Devils, especially for the direction they're moving, which is trending upwards. Next, we're going to talk about Winnipeg again. They're signing Dmitry Kulikov to a 3-year, $4.333 million contract. Now, when I first saw this contract and heard of it, this was a freaking head scratcher for me. I don't understand it. Because I thought they would give this ice time to Josh Morrissey or, you know, a young defenseman, maybe even Logan Stanley if he was feeling it. But Kulikov is a safe bet if Winnipeg wants to win now, at the expense of a young guy like Josh Morrissey or Logan Stanley. So don't be surprised if maybe one of them gets traded next year and maybe they pick up a competitive asset so they can compete more. Kulikov had a very bad season last year. That's who are we kidding? He had 5 points in 47 games, but he can play strong defensive minutes if need be. So he adds space to a guy like Patrick Laine and Nikolai Ehlers or Mark Scheifele. When they want to score, they would feel more comfortable pinching, knowing that they have Kulikov back there to bail them out every now and then. Number 20, the Nashville Predators signed Scott Hartnell to a 1-year, $1 million contract. He often misused in fourth-line minutes, and Columbus. Hartnell still managed 39 points last year, as well as two 20-plus goal campaigns 2 years prior. I absolutely love this signing. I love Scott Hartnell. Quote me saying this next year, but playing in the right minutes, Scott Hartnell will score 20 goals next year. Low risk, very high reward signing for Nashville. Great signing, great move by David Poirier. Number 21, Arizona signs Nick Cousins to a 2-year, $1 million per year contract. He played 60 games last year and is only 24 years old. Could easily develop into a solid bottom six forward for Arizona, as he was once one of Philadelphia's top prospects. Low risk, high reward. He's on a 2-year deal. I would not be surprised if he broke out with the Coyotes, especially if he's playing bottom 6 minutes. The next move, we're going to move a little bit quicker now. The Nashville Predators signed Nick Bonino. How deep are we into this video right now? Damn, 22 minutes. Predators signed Nick Bonino, 4 years, $4.1 million per year. Nashville adds a decent second-line center or a great third-line center, depending on how they use this player, performing, face-off winning, and often gritty center. Bonino can play in almost any role you assign him and is a winner. Once a centerpiece of a trade that brought Ryan Kessler to Anaheim, Bonino has now become one of the better middle six centers in the league as he finds chemistry with almost anyone. Great skating ability helps him keep up with fast line mates and fast opposition. Great signing by the Nashville Predators. Bonino will put them right back into Stanley Cup contention. Good replacement for Mike Fisher, too. Very good replacement. Number 23, the New York Rangers signed Kevin Shattenkirk to a 4-year, $6.65 million contract. Kevin Shattenkirk left a lot of money and term on the table. This top right-handed defenseman heads to his hometown club in an effort to bring them a Stanley Cup. The Rangers get their guy, as they can finally say they've replaced Yandov's offensive production on the back end. Shattenkirk can give you very strong offensive numbers, as he has scored over 40 points in every full season he has played. His worst offensive season saw him producing .479 points per game. That is almost a point every other game, which is about 41 points per year. And that was the shortened 48-game season. The Rangers have not had a power play quarterback since Jaromir Jagr, and Shattenkirk can now take that role and revamp the Ranger power play and the Rangers defense as a whole. They got their guy. Moving on, the Tampa Bay Lightning signed Daniel Girardi to a 2-year, $3 million per year contract. Girardi's problem with the Rangers was his contract to freaking performance, quote-unquote, ratio was god-awful. God-awful. His ability makes him a great top 6 defenseman, though. If you got him on the third pair, he's awesome. He can shut down the depth guys. And if you need him to, if somebody gets hurt, you can move him into the top 4 and feel relatively comfortable. He's not what he used to be, but he's still a solid defenseman. Good signing by Tampa Bay. They got a really great veteran there. Another Tampa Bay signing, they signed Chris Kunitz to a 1-year, $2 million contract. Low risk, high reward. Kunitz always comes up clutch somehow or another. Underrated signing by Tampa Bay. He'll probably get you 15 goals, but he'll perform damn well in the playoffs and come up in the clutch. Underrated signing. Great move by the Tampa Bay Lightning. Number 26, the LA Kings signed Mike Camilleri. 1 year, $1 million. The LA Kings add a potential 20-plus goal scorer for cheap. Cam was in a tough spot with New Jersey. That's no joke. The team was not the best offensive team, and he's an offensive player. He did not have many complementary players. Now, you could argue that Henrique is a complementary player, as is Taylor Hall. But Camilleri needs his own line. Adam Henrique is not a setup guy. He's a gritty two-way center. He's not going to be feeding you pucks the same way a guy like Kopitar or Jeff Carter would if he's on a line with them. I expect Camilleri to have a very good year next year. Moving on, the LA Kings also signed Darcy Kemper to a one-year $650,000 contract. The LA Kings added a phenomenal backup on an astonishingly cheap contract. Great move by the LA Kings. Underrated. Kemper's going to be an awesome backup goalie next year. Chicago Blackhawks signed Patrick Sharp to a one-year $800,000 contract, bringing back a multi-time Stanley Cup champion who can score you 20 goals and play top 6 minutes is a win, and doing so on a contract worth less than $1 million before bonuses is just robbery. Excellent signing by the Chicago Blackhawks. They're going back to the old days when they were winning 3 cups in 5 years. A great move by Chicago, bringing Patrick Sharp back. He went back. He put everything in the past aside. He went there. He's going to have a beastly year. Excellent move by Chicago. Low risk, very high reward. Next move, Buffalo Sabres signed Chad Johnson to a one-year, $2.5 million contract. A guy who could be a starter if need be, and will make a strong case to be a starter if Robin Lehner upsets again. Lehner is on the hot seat. We shall see how Johnson and Lehner play next year. Number 30, the Detroit Red Wings signed Trevor Daley to a 3-year, $3.1666667 million contract. If Detroit wants to compete again next year, Daley puts him in a position to do so, as he's a solid two-way defenseman who can log any minutes that you give him. Low pay makes him an attractive asset if they want to sell him for futures if nothing works out and they want to rebuild. Great move by Detroit. I like the signing. It puts them in the middle of the pack. They can compete or they can rebuild. See what they want. Number 31, the Toronto Maple Leafs signed Patrick Marleau to a 3-year, $6.75 million contract. An expensive and risky contract at that, but Toronto has put themselves as a high contender to make the playoffs and compete deep into the playoffs next season. Marleau has played 18 full seasons in his career. He has scored over 20 goals in 14 of those seasons, 30 in over 7 of them, and 40 in one campaign. He has back-to-back 20-goal seasons with 27 last year. He can play top 9 minutes. Less pressure is going to be on Marleau, as he's not going to be the go-to guy, as he often was in San Jose. Marner, Matthews, Nylander, etc. will take the brunt of most teams' top defenders, giving Marleau space in the freaking top 9 to just score at will. There's going to be no pressure on this guy. He can also play center and win faceoff, which he is not bad at doing, and he could do if need be. Number 32, the Montreal Canadiens signed Alex Hemsky. I bet you didn't expect to hear this on the list. 1 year, $1 million contract, low risk, high reward. Unable to find a scoring touch in Dallas, arguably, can explode with the Montreal Canadiens with the right line mates, although he never found his scoring touch in Dallas. He was always close to about a point every other game, which is about 40 points per season on average. I think it's a good signing by Montreal. Underrated. Washington signs Devontae Smith-Pelly to a 1-year, $650,000 contract. A steal at that. Austin Forchecker going to score timely depth goals on a cheap deal. It's just what Washington needs. Low risk and a very high reward. He's only 24, 25 years old. He still has time to develop. People thought he was going to be a 15-goal third liner. When he hits his peak, he could still do that. Moving on, number 34, a big signing. We're going to talk about the Dallas Stars signing Alexander Radulov. 5 years, $6.25 million contract. Dallas is another elite scorer. Radulov had his 1 year of North American ice adjustment and is in his adjustment year with less room on the ice to maneuver. He put up 54 points and was over point per game in the playoffs. He can easily be a regular season point per game guy this year. Dallas has put themselves in a very good position to be a scary team for next year. Watch out for Dallas. They are literally elite. And think about it. Once that freaking Kari Lettinen contract is gone, they're going to have another $6 million to sign whomever the hell they want. The Colorado Avalanche signed Nail Yakupov to a 1 year, $875,000 contract. This is a low risk and an amazingly high reward. Now with his third team, the busted first overall pick ends up with a rebuilding Avalanche. He could easily tap into his first overall potential and become an elite player, but we need help in doing so. Put him on a line with McKinnon, and right there you have a line. I have faith in Yakupov, I do, and this is his last chance to prove me right. Let's see if he can do so. I would like him to. I do not like seeing players bust. I want to see young guys succeed, and I would not mind seeing Ned Yakupov become the 70-point-per-year player he was thought to be. The New York Rangers is coming in at number 36, signing David Desharnais to a one-year, $1 million contract. Low risk, high reward. Has scored 45-plus points twice in his career, including a 50-plus point campaign. He's a great forechecker with in-tight scoring ability. He could emerge the same way Grabner did last season if he plays hard. He has the ability. It is up to him to put it all together. It's a very underrated and good signing by the Rangers. Number 37, the Edmonton Oilers signed UC Jokinen to a one-year, $1.1 million contract. Now, 1 second. This is low risk and very high reward again. Jokinen has arguably been an elite player before. With all the talent surrounding him at Edmonton, he can retouch that elite ability of his. If Edmonton splits up Draisaitl and McDavid line next year, and don't be surprised if they do, you will see Jokinen with either one of them. His defensive play gives room for McDavid or Draisaitl to focus on scoring, giving them option, and gives them an option to pass to, as he has been a scorer in the past. The Ottawa Senators coming in at number 38. Signed Johnny Oduya to a one-year, $1 million contract before bonuses. Oduya has been a solid top 4 defenseman and can be one if need be, but will be a good top 6 guy for Ottawa next season. He can shut down other teams' depth guys or middle guys if he has to. More so to replace Mark Mathot. Low risk, high reward. Montreal signs Mark Streit to a one-year, $1 million contract. Low risk, high reward. Again, 2 years separated from over 50 freaking points. Could be a very good quarterback on the power play with Drouin, Pacioretty, Galchenyuk, and Weber. Could you imagine that power play unit? Bro, that is insane. Imagine just Mark Streit feeding Weber one-timers. Ew! Coming in at number 40, the Calgary Flames acquire Mike Smith. They had a 10 who has played on a miserable Arizona and Phoenix teams, yet has posted over a 90 save percentage each and every year. Although older, he can still hold down the fort while Calgary either finds younger options or grows the goalie youth in the farm. Excellent move by the Calgary Flames, bringing in a guy like Michael Smith. Every cap eat the Las Vegas Golden Knights have made, eating cruddy contracts while getting futures. After that, we have number 42. The Edmonton Oilers acquire Ryan Strome, and the Islanders add Eberle. This is a twofer. The Edmonton Oilers add cap space and solid young scorer who can replace most of Jordan Eberle's production. The Islanders add a younger potential 30-goal scorer. Tavares can make anybody dangerous, but if you put someone who's already dangerous with a dangerous Tavares, then, well, you're sitting pretty. Moving on, the Carolina Hurricanes add Trevor Van Riemsdyk, a guy who already is a good top 60 who can develop into a solid top 4 guy. If used correctly, definitely makes Carolina a lot better. Watch out for them to make the playoffs next year. The Arizona Coyotes acquire Nicholas Hadjala-Marson, or however the hell you pronounce that damn name. What's overlooked with Hadjala-Marson in this trade is that he's played before with Oliver Ekman-Larsson. They were paired together on Team Sweden on multiple occasions. He adds cup-winning experience and leadership to a young Arizona team. His defensive play also gives Oliver Ekman-Larsson more room to play offense. Meaning OEL does not always have to give a damn about playing a two-way game. He could just straight up score 70 points this year, and Nicholas Hadjala-Marson will just be his complimentary guy who plays defensive menace. I am very excited to see what he's going to do in Arizona. And moving on, we're going to talk about the Chicago Blackhawks acquiring Brandon Saad, or reacquiring at that. Chicago brings back a lot of its old Stanley Cup magic, and a player in Brandon Saad is excellent, as he is a good shutdown player, a great hockey IQ, and that was just what he was when they traded him away. When they reacquired him, now he can be a 30-goal scorer. Great move by Chicago Blackhawks, adding a very talented, young, winning winger. Columbus Blue Jackets acquire Artemi Panarin. Columbus replaces its lost scoring this offseason, Saad, Gagne, etc., with an elite young playmaker. Artemi can be a game changer when he wants to be, and he will be the number 1 guy in Columbus during his tenure there. I look forward to seeing how he does without Kane and him being the go-to guy in Columbus. The Arizona Coyotes acquired Derek Stepan and Antti Raanta. The Arizona Coyotes add a potential number 1 center with oodles of playoff experience. Will definitely be a leader in Arizona locker room and will make a case to be their captain, but will most likely be an alternate, so don't get too excited. Antti Raanta has shown flashes of becoming a number 1 goaltender as he picked up where Hank left off when he was injured. Great pickup at the Arizona Coyotes. Hell, look at the Edmonton Oilers. It worked with Cam Talbot. The New York Rangers acquiring Anthony DeLangelo. Hard to see where he fits in with the Rangers' crowded defense. However, he will definitely be a high-scoring NHL D-man one day. He almost replaces what Del Zotto once was, just with a lower ceiling as us Rangers fans. Remember what Del Zotto was thought to be. Underrated player who needs an attitude adjustment, but I believe he understands that attitude problem will not fly in New York, and he will get his act together with the Rangers. Number 49, one of my favorite acquisitions of the offseason. The St. Louis Blues acquire Braden Shen, and the Philadelphia Flyers acquire Yuri Laterra. Laterra will fit in nice with Philadelphia as a depth scorer. Him and Filppula, ugly contracts that the Flyers took on, but they can become very good players. However, the Blues got Braden Shen, a great pickup. Shen is one of the most underrated forwards in the NHL. Guy can score, play defensive, can forecheck, backcheck, pre-check, and he will fit in perfect in St. Louis. I could see him scoring 25 goals a year, getting between 50 and 65 points if he's playing with Tarasenko or Fabry. One of my favorite offseason moves for a team. The Dallas Stars coming in at number 50, acquiring Mark Mathot. Dallas has needed a shutdown guy. They tried Dan Hamhuis, but he's a two-way, not a defensive. They also tried Johnny Oduya, but he was not in his prime anymore. He's too damn old. Mark Mathot is proven and more than worthy as a top two-man for Dallas. Throw him with John Klingberg and watch Klingberg score 55-plus points yearly, and Mathot eat up strong defensive minutes. Mathot will definitely take a lot of pressure off the Dallas scorers, knowing that he's back there to bail them out of offensive risk situations. Calgary acquires Eddie Lack, a great backup for Mike Smith, as Lack can be a fringe starter if need be. Awesome backup option. Makes Calgary a stronger competitor. Buffalo acquires Jason... My voice is getting very dry. Buffalo acquires Jason Pominville and Marco Scandella. Pominville can be a dangerous scorer when put with the right line mates. He's not too far separated from a 30-goal campaign. Pominville will be the next captain. Mark my damn words. He will also score over 25 goals and reinvent himself back in Buffalo. Scandella will not get you 30 points, but will be a good 20-point guy while giving you great defensive minutes as a PKer or a shutdown guy or both. Another underrated move this offseason that is one of my favorites, if not my favorite. Minnesota acquires Mark Foligno and Tyler Ennis. Quietly great acquisitions by Minnesota. Can no doubt make Foligno a 15 to 20 goal scorer and a 40-point guy, as Foligno's game will be perfect on a line with, let's say, Eric Stahl and Nino Niederreiter. I would love to see those talented big guys play together. I think Ennis can find his scoring touch in Minnesota without a doubt. I want to see him with Parise and Granlund just to see how he does. A guy like Ennis can easily score 20 to 25 goals with 50 to 60 freaking points, maybe even more. I really like Ennis as a player. I just think he was overshadowed in Buffalo after Reinhart and Eichel arrived and Tyler Myers, his counterpart, was shipped out. Colorado Avalanche acquired Colin Wilson. Wilson will probably be a top 6 guy in Colorado, which isn't bad considering Wilson can grow into the top role as he's still young. I wouldn't be surprised to see Wilson with 20 goals this year if he's matched up with Duchesne if he stays, or maybe even helps Soderberg find his game, and those two mesh well. Nashville has Alexei Emlin, a great defensive pickup, as Emlin will be his third pairing shutdown defenseman. He'll be shutting down the other team's depth guys. Emlin can shut down top 6 guys oftenly. Now put that versus bottom 6 guys or middle 6 guys, and he will be shutting guys down easily. Underrated pickup by the Nashville Predators. Well done. The New Jersey Devils acquire Mojo, Marcus Johansson. New Jersey needed scoring and a two-way player this offseason, and they did so when they got Mojo. The guy will get you 20 goals and 50 points and can play two-way minutes if you absolutely need him to. I really like this move for New Jersey. Great player to get, and for cheaps too, only a second and third round pick. He will emerge with the New Jersey Devils. Mark a damn words. The final one, number 57. The Carolina Hurricanes acquire Marcus Kruger, an excellent bottom 6 center who would take Carolina to another level since he will take pressure off wingers' backs as a freaking face-off winning two-way forward who has won before, who is a great defensive player. Watch out for the Hurricanes next season. So, that'll about wrap it up for the top 57 acquisitions of the offseason so far. Maybe I will follow this up if there are any more good moves. But until then, thank you everybody for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed watching it. I certainly enjoyed making it. Comment down below what you thought the best move of this offseason were. I look forward to hearing from you all. I will see you all in the next one. Peace!
keeps it going through the neutral zone. Gets in, and he'll look over his options. He's through. The drama heightens in this final minute of the second period. And another strong save. Freezes play. The Panthers win the draw. Pittsburgh skating it back in their own zone. Puck is thrown to Stevens. Clutterbuck's tripped, and a penalty should be coming. Play is stopped, and that well-worn track to both penalty boxes will be plowed through again. Brooks is sent to the box for tripping. Clean win on the draw.
For tripping. Time of the penalty. 19 minutes, 57 seconds.
We've played 2 periods here of a 3-period game. The best part of the day is coming up.
With a scarf tonight priced at just $10. Make sure to stop off at any team store here in the arena. Pick up your specially priced item of the game. Our scarf tonight is just $10. Hurry, as supplies are limited.
Third period about to begin. What did you think of the second?
Pittsburgh's had very little time of possession, Doc. They've been outplayed in that category big time, but they're still in this game. One shot, and they're right in it.
Fires! Didn't get through. Grabbed by Stevens. To Skinner. Trying hard to get it out of the zone. That one is on back and is handled by Carter. Pitching this one to Clutterbuck. That rush is broken. And a save. Oh, they got it out. They check the clock and prepare to defend some more. Panthers lug the puck in the defensive zone. The defense was in the way. Loose puck. Lets it go. Missed. New York's power play has come to an end. They have to practice this. Shoots. Blocked. Marched narrowly inside. He gains the zone. Big chance. Huge stop by Carter. Parked in the slot, and it's on his stick. Snapping a pass to Brooks. Led on to Clutterbuck. Smart recovery by Hutton. No team worth its name is going to let that go.
Doesn't look like it's going to lead to much, but let's keep an eye on this pushing and shoving moving forward.
A little under 6 minutes played here in the third. New York's up by the narrowest of margins, 2-1. A shot, just wide with the shot. Went to the backhand, and that one turned aside. A whistle and a rest. Good clean win. And snap to Reza. Solid bad save. Gains the zone. Snaps one in there. Blockered away. Skill play by Reza. Possession taken over by Reza. Gathered up again by Clutterbuck. On to Skinner. Shoots one. Flex that. Leg right out there and blocked it. Troop stared him down and made the save.
He missed opportunity from this close in.
That puck's loose, deflected away by Clutterbuck. Kicked out of the scrum, looking for Reza. Trying to go to Skinner. Turned right away with a poke check by Irwin. possession, and with the Panthers controlling play now in their own end, helping the team recoil in the defensive zone. Nicely into the zone.
Clutterbuck's lost that puck in the offensive zone. He stick-handled himself into submission.
Offside stops the clock. A face-off win. Let's see what develops. Good standing poke check by Reza. Pass attempt to Brooks. That one is good. Missed the net.
Trailing by one. What an opportunity, but there's still time remaining.
Puck controlled by Clutterbuck. Pinned up against the glass right now. Good solid defensive play there. Puck fired down. Decision made. Defenders first. Isaac. They won it. Now what can they do? Big drive. Just missed the net with that one. Time winding down. Will we need extra? Passing one off now to Reza. Pitching it to Reza. Oh, and it's a penalty coming. A huge moment in the game. Could it swing on this penalty? Clutterbuck's got a minor penalty here for interference. Oftentimes, it's not your percentage on the penalty. And there's another.
That second save was textbook.
And there's a delayed penalty call. The battle continues. He can't get free. And play stops for guess what? Another penalty. Reza's getting a 2-minute boarding penalty.
Well, the officials are instructed, Doc, as you know, that any time a player gets hit from behind in this fashion, it's going to be a penalty. You cannot continue to give the team free opportunities on the power play.
Agreed, Eddie, but let's see if they can reverse that here. Loose puck, there was no getting through. Laid on to Brooks. Nice work by Irwin. Directing that one to Hutton. Up the wing and moving well. Shoots a wrister. Oh, and it's off the mark.
That's going to happen. There's not a lot of room there. He just missed the shot.
Pittsburgh's in control as they travel up the wing. Oh, what a great hit on him. Again. The horn signals the end of this game. New York's time of possession was enormous, yet their victory was not.
The quality of chances weren't very high, but to your point, they did have the puck the majority of the evening.